if I had to pay $5,000 to quit weed, I might. What's up, guys? Welcome to Quitting Mary. So the title of the video is, should I go to weed rehab? Now, me personally, I never went to rehab for weed, but it's out there. I found it interesting that it's like so expensive. Of course, we know we can go to things for rehab like alcohol, narcotics, which you probably may need those things. You may need rehab for those particular substances. But something like weed, do you really need rehab for it? Now, some may say, is weed addictive? Is it not addictive? Well, I would say weed is definitely addictive. It's a debate on it's not physically addictive, it's just mental. Well, your mental is a part of your brain and your head. So, I mean, I think mental is still physical. Whether your brain needs it or your liver needs it, whatever the case, these things are all, you can say, physical if you look at it from a certain perspective. But do you need to go to rehab for weed? Now, rehab is very expensive, quite expensive, so I wouldn't do so, because I believe the good thing about, if you are addicted to weed, it's, although it is addictive, it's not like narcotics or alcohol. And I do think with work, with persistence, with self-control, you are very capable of quitting weed on your own without the help of rehab, without the help of counseling. You may need some counseling, because chances are if you smoke weed, you feel like you need to smoke weed every day, all day. Some will say, oh, I'll just love weed, or I just love weed. But we're trying to mask something in our life. We're trying to cover up something in our life. If we have anxiety, if we're depressed, what are you anxious about? What are you depressed about? You're not depressed or anxious because you can't smoke weed. You're depressed about something else, and you're using weed to cope with that. So you may need counseling sometimes, depending on who you are, what you are, who you are, whatever. But the good thing about weed is, like I said, you are capable of doing this on your own. As I mentioned, it takes self-control. A lot of times with quitting weed, it's a matter of self-control. Some people might say, just quit, just don't smoke, which I agree, but there are millions and millions of people who struggle with quitting weed, who find themselves, they may say, oh, I'll quit anytime I want to, and then when it comes time to quit, then it's hard to quit. Or even when it comes time where you can't get weed from your weed man, then you like, oh, like I can barely get through the day. So to think that it's easy to just quit weed if you've been smoking for 5, 10, 15 years, it's pretty hard, but it does take self-control. So there are steps you can take if you're trying to quit weed without going to rehab. I would first try to wean myself off. Some can go cold turkey. I never was a cold turkey type person. I do think cold turkey can sometimes sabotage you. It's like going from 0 to 100. So if you're used to smoking every day, 3 to 6 blunts a day, and you go to 0, oh, that first week is going to be like hell. And so much hell that you will say, I can't do it. I need a blunt. So for me personally, I don't think going from 0 to 100 was good for me. But I do think weaning myself off was very beneficial, because it taught me that I could go a day without weed. It slowly got my body prepared to being used to not being on weed. So if you smoke, let's say, every day, first start with not trying to smoke for one day. And you say, okay, great, cool, I can not smoke for one day. Next week, try 2 days. Week after that, try 3 days. Then try to go a whole week without smoking. It makes it so much easier. So it's a process that slowly weans yourself off, so you're not shell shocked. A lot of times I feel like we relapse on weed because we try to take on, it's like anything like with a diet. Let's say if you're trying to go on this diet journey, going from eating McDonald's and Burger King all day to just eating salads, that's not saying people can't do that, but going from one extreme to the other is going to be so drastic that it's going to be too much to take on all at once. But if you slowly try to replace the French fries with the salad, adding more fruits, adding more vegetables, until we finally cross over to a full nutritious diet, it's much easier than just jumping in head first with with without a lifeguard. Now, if that makes sense. Now, maybe you are a zero to 100 type person. I am aware that some people can just decide one day and just go full into it. Great, if you do that, I commend you. I do it. But if you're like me, like many others, we have to kind of jump in. We kind of have to slowly adapt ourselves to this new lifestyle. Another thing I would also do, I don't know what that was. Another thing that I would do is I would start to journal. I would start to actually put my thoughts on the paper. Growing up, I was never a journaler, especially as men. We think it's kind of a woman thing. But a lot of times, especially as men, we are unable to express ourselves, unable to really capture our thoughts and be able to articulate how we feel and why we do things. But when we journal and write our thoughts down, we actually get a more clarification on why we smoke, how it makes us feel, and also back to the idea of being anxious, being depressed, we actually can navigate those things on why we do choose to smoke weed every day. Because if we smoke weed every day, all day, there is some underlying reason on why you do. So you don't just smoke weed all day, every day. Again, not if you just smoke weed occasionally or every now and then and just smoke a blunt. But if you smoke weed as part of your daily cycle, there is some underlying reason on why you do so. And it's not because you just love weed. Now, if you have an issue with journaling or don't know where to start, I did create a 30-day guided journal that is 30 days, day by day, kind of give you a guide each day on something to think about, how to get through your thoughts, and exercises to help you navigate your new life outside of weed addiction. And also the good thing about weed is it only takes about 30 days for you not to be addicted to weed. There are slight withdrawals from weed. You have things, some people have wild dreams or nightmares. You may not have an appetite. That was a big thing with me. I was afraid to quit because I depended on weed to eat. So the first week or two, I had to get adapted to just eating food again. We have mood swings, of course. We have mood swings. We kind of might be, I wouldn't say depressed, but very irritable. It gets better. We may be battling with CHS. Some people actually experience CHS after they quit for a short period of time. But the good thing about weed is you get over that usually in about a week or two. And we get to day 30, we have proven to ourselves that we can live our lives without smoking weed every day, all day. So, long story short, you don't need rehab to quit weed. All you need is your brain clear, some willpower, and some self-control, and you can get through it. So, guys, if you have different activities, different exercises, different thoughts on what helped you quit, or maybe you feel like I did need rehab. And also, weed rehab is like thousands of dollars, and I'm like, if I had to pay $5,000 to quit weed, I might continue to just smoke weed. Like you don't have to go to rehab to quit weed. So that's what I will say. People will say, "Oh, you don't need, weed's not addictive." Now I will say, you don't need rehab to quit weed. So I will give the people who are so against people who say they are addicted to weed So, again, like, subscribe, share. If you need help journaling yourself, visit Amazon. The 30-day guide to quit cannabis. It's not $1,000. It'll help you on your journey. So, till next time, guys, we are all in this together, and you can do it. Peace.